Hi there, this is just a short tutorial to respond to a guy called Stensword on the Polycount forums. Um, he's been sketching a sallet helm here in ZBrush. It's a bit wobbly, but the principle's good. But I'm just going to make a short video here to show some techniques you can use for getting a cleaner mesh straight from ZBrush. Now I'm going to be using a plugin called Extract Plus, which just drastically speeds up some of the masking and extracting processes here, but you can do all that in vanilla ZBrush if you need to. Um, Basically, it's a combination of using Extract, which is under Subtool, and then using ZRemesh. But this plugin basically combines it all into one and makes it much, much faster. So what I've got here is basically just a Dynamesh sphere, which I've roughly sculpted into a helmet shape, and I've masked off the area that I want to extract. It's got a few subdivisions just so the mask can be a little bit sharper, but this is good enough for now. So I'm going to go to the Extract Plus plugin, and I'm going to use Extract Plus Sharp because that will help preserve things like this corner here. If you just use the bog standard extract, you'll probably find that it gets really rounded out. Let's see what happens here. Plugin's running. Okay, here's the first result. It's a bit wobbly, but we're going to fix that shortly. Let's have a look at the polyframe. So we've kind of lost this corner a little bit, so I'm going to take the move brush and just nudge it into a sharper shape. And don't worry about all this spacing because we're going to remesh this a few more times, which should clean up most of this detail. I'm going to do a bit of a first pass on just getting rid of some of this curvature here and here. There is a thing in ZBrush when you use, I think most people know that if you hold down shift, you go into smooth mode. If you start smoothing and then release shift, it becomes like a relax brush rather than the bog standard smooth. So that was with the relax. I'll do it with just normal smoothing, and the result is a bit different. It'll become more apparent on some things than others. But let's just relax this out a bit. And this edge here is a bit wobbly, but I'm going to work on it when I've got less verts to move around, which will happen when I remesh it again shortly. So this tool does some pretty magical things sometimes to clean up your mesh. This is a bit too much of a wobble, so I'm just going to clean this up a little bit just now. And make sure you look at your mesh from multiple angles because you might have it looking good from one and then it looks like crap from another. So okay, with that done, let's go back to the ZRemesh options. So when you've used this plugin with Sharp, it will automatically set a few things which might not be the case if you're not using the plugin. So you don't want it to smooth the groups at all, otherwise it'll start to round out corners, so turn that all the way down. Keep groups, it's not relevant for now because we've only got one group, but it might become relevant later. At the moment I'm going to half the resolution here and just leave the rest as it is, so let's see what happens here. Okay, that's better. I'm not loving the polygon flow at the moment, but this corner is good. It's got the kind of topology I'm after. Spacing could be better, but again, that'll probably get fixed with a couple more passes of ZRemesh. And again, I'm not too worried about this stuff yet. Again, using the relax though, just a little bit, just to help round out the shape a bit better. just constantly nudging stuff with the move brush just to clean it up a little bit. Even though it's a bit long-winded, it's still less time than it would be to do this for the most part, sub-D modeling. Okay, so for this next Z remesh, I like the amount of polygons we've got here, so I want it to remain this roughly the same poly count, but I just want to redistribute the topology a little bit better, so I'm going to change this to same and hit Z remesh again and see what comes up with this time. Okay, that's already much better. Yeah, it's only really a couple of poles in funny places, and I'm just going to use the relax brush again, the smooth brush with the relax function. Starting to get some nice edge loops here, which will be used later on for extracting some other overlapping pieces. I'm not going to spend forever cleaning this up, but obviously if you were doing it for real, it's worth spending a little bit of time just nudging points around. But I reckon that's probably good enough for our purposes just now. He says, making more adjustments, but hopefully that's enough to give you the idea. So because you've got these nice kind of clean edge loops now as well, it's quite easy to extract other parts, for example like another overlapping bit here. So I'm just going to set up some quick poly groups. Easy way to do it in this particular case is to switch to the select lasso brush, and if you click on an edge, it will basically hide an edge ring. And I'm just going to group visible here to create a new poly group. So now I've got two poly groups here. There's all sorts of ways I could extract this, but in this case I'm just going to duplicate this tool, hide the part I don't want, and then delete it. And nudge this down a little bit. Obviously this is a quick and dirty version, but hopefully good enough to give you the idea. And for adding thicknesses and so on, first of all, I'm going to show you something really quick and handy. You might want to have some subdivisions on this. So I'll just add some just now. That's shrinking a bit, so I'm going to crease all the outer edges. So you can see that it's got a crease now. It's a bit better. Okay, to add a thickness, there's a few ways to do it. Z modeler brush will only work when you've got one subdivision. In fact, pretty much everything only works with one subdivision, or no subdivisions, I should say. So in this case, I'm going to delete the lower subdivisions, and I'm going to use the group loops function here. Sorry, I'm just looking over the options here. I don't want any polish. I don't want it to change the profile at all. I don't want it to bevel it at all. I want it to go inside, so I'm changing the elevation to -100. Thickness 0.01 is probably really thick. I'll start off with 0.00. Let's try 4. See what that looks like. And the number of loops you want, this is going to be the number of loops it creates through the thickness here. So at some point I'm going to want to reconstruct the subdivision level so I can get back to my level 0 and still have this level here. So you need to do basically a power of 2 thing. So I've got 2 subdivisions, so I'm going to want 2, 4 loops, I think. It might be 8, and I'll find out soon enough. And let's hit the panel loops button. Okay, that was actually pretty thin, as it turns out. So undo that. Let's try 0.01 thickness. Okay, that's a bit better. I like chunky stuff, so I'm going to make it just a little bit thicker. Sorry, I know this isn't much of a spectator sport, but Okay, that's super chunky now. Okay, probably too chunky, but for the demo it's fine. Okay, you can see I've got these edge loops here, so I'm going to hit reconstruct subdivision twice. That gives me subdivision levels and a thickness and some handy polygroups for, oops, change back to the select rectangle tool. The reason I've got this is because I asked it to preserve groups. Normally I would turn that off, but yeah, ignore groups would have made that better. In fact, let's just undo that and do it properly. Reconstruct again. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, I think that's this is pretty basic stuff, but you can see I've got quite a clean mesh out here with some nice nice polygroups and relatively nice topology as well. So even if you do end up retoppling over this, it will give you a much faster head start, and it's much less wobbly than working straight from a Dynamesh sphere. Hopefully that's been some help to you. Bye for now.